Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran. Today we'll be taking a look at a new gearing system, or I guess a partial gearing system, with these new shards, which is similar to gems that are going to be available from the raid gear of the new raid tier. So if you take a look at some of the new raid gear, you'll notice that they actually have extra sockets, not normal gem sockets, but specific ones. Specific sockets that slot in domination items that drop from the raid. So I want to take a look at what those sockets are, since they're somewhat available to look at but not quite testable on PTR, and take a look at what some of the bonuses that they'll offer, because it's kind of like a tier system of old school tier gear before we actually get tier gear in future patches. So let's take a look at the new shards available on PTR. So looking at some of the raid gear, you might have done this the same also on PTR if you've been checking out PTR, but taking a look at some of the new pieces for, let's say, rogues. We can see shoulders here have a domination socket. It's like a gem socket, but a gem doesn't quite go into it. You also take a look at the rest of the gear. You have certain pieces like the chest piece, the gloves will have a socket, the feet do not have a socket, and I imagine the best in slot gear from the raid are going to be the ones with these sockets. But what is the purpose of these sockets? A lot of us were wondering for quite a while, and now Blizzard finally added a way for us to actually kind of look at these socket bonuses that we'll be able to play with. It looks like every boss has at least one piece of leather gear that has a socket, except for a handful of the early bosses. And that's going to be with a bonesmith, and I pronounce this name wrong every time. I pronounce it as Hymir, but I think it's Earmere. Anyway, take a look at bonesmith's inventory. You'll find these different shards. You have ominous shards of Zed, Oth, Diz, and all purple. You have Tel, Core, Kier, then the red ones of ominous shards of Rev, Jazz, and Beck. And then you have the same shards, but it looks like they're kind of upgraded. They actually go up in the currency price, but they still need you the original shard, very similar to like the old school version of kind of how you used to upgrade gear back in like Wrath. You would get maybe a normal chest piece from a raid, and then if you wanted to get the heroic chest piece, you needed to have the normal chest piece and an upgrade token from the heroic raid, and then you could bring those to the vendor, exchange your normal chest piece and the token for a heroic chest. So it's very similar in that regard. Take a look at these shards right now. We have purple shards, which have effects like your helpful spells and abilities have a chance to grant your target unholy aura, draining health from nearby enemies every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. Which sounds like a socket that would be able to go into gear. So in a sense, it's like extra effects that you will put into gear, almost like a tier set like effect, but not exactly. And that's kind of how I want to describe it. Take a look at some of these other effects. So this looks like a bonus that you will give when you help an ally. You can give them kind of like leech, and they'll siphon health around enemies. I imagine this is something a healer would use. For example, you have a shard of oath, which gives you speed. Don't really know if that one's going to be super popular. We have one where it says damage in a target increases your damage done to that target by 0.37% for 4 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. So it looks like there's like a healing benefit, a damage benefit, and like a bonus side thing if you wanted to use that. Then we have also the frost shards, or ominous shards of Tel, but they have like a frosty effect to it. Your critical heals cause the target to absorb the next 57 damage dealt to them within 6 seconds. So that seems pretty good, adding an extra absorb effect to classes that don't have it, or for this case example, even more absorbs and bubbles. We have an ominous shard of core. Your damage is increased by 3.38% for 20 seconds after attacking an enemy you haven't yet damaged, so a DPS shard. And then we have gain 990 absorb every 5 seconds up to a cap of 4950, so like a tanky type of shard. Then we have the blood shards, ominous shard of Rev. Your leech is increased by 30. While leech is not an amazing stat, maybe could be used for healers, as healers back in previous expansions love stacking leech on corruption gear, but also leech in gear is generally a healer increase. Ominous shard of Jas. Incoming healing you receive is increased by 1.1. Maximum health is increased by 450. So that's a tanky shard. Then we have ominous shard of Beck. Your damage is increased by 2.3% when you have 50% or more health than your target. So I think it's like percentages, right? So if you have 100% health and the boss is at 50, essentially you kind of adding yourself a little bit extra execute damage as a DPS. Take a look at all these shards. It looks like it's going to be Shard of Zed, that it gives you the Drain Leech ability, and it's the same shard as before, just at a higher upgrade. Take a look at some of the currency that you'll need to upgrade it. Is for the purple shards, it looks like you'll need a shard of Zed, Diz, or Oath, which I think just drop from the raid as maybe like side extra stuff, and there'll be like a very basic version. And then you can turn in the Stygian Ember, which is another thing that's supposed to drop from the new raid, and then you could upgrade your shards in that regard. So I'm guessing these shards will just drop separately from bosses, kind of like how conduits work. So you have all these different shards, and they'll all upgrade to a maximum of like what looks like rank 3, or actually 4, where they'll take 50 Stygian Ember. They'll need the original shard in order to have an upgraded version. And some of these effects, actually, when you're looking at the highest range, while not the biggest upgrade, 40 leech versus, for example, at the low end, it's going to be 30 leech. So you're seeing like incremental increases here and there. So it's not like going to be super big time. I mean, if you're min-maxing, you'll want to get the highest version of the shards, it seems. But if, let's say, you are a little bit behind, I mean, the difference between 40 leech and, let's say, a 33 leech, it's only 7 difference. 7 points of leech. Maybe that'll be a difference between like a 0.1% boss wipe or not for some players, but for majority of players, it won't be super, like, I guess, as big of a system in terms of being super far behind with players. Another thing about these shards is apparently there'll be set bonuses with these shards. If you are running 3 of the same colored shard, so if you're running 3 frost shards, which are going to be marked as they're blue, 3 blood shards that are marked in red, and then 3 unholy shards, like the 3 Death Knight specs that are marked in purple, you get different bonuses. So running 3 of blood shards apparently is going to give you an effect, and this has been data mined, so could change in the future. While inside of the maw or Torghast, damaging an enemy establishes a blood link. Blood link pulses every 3 seconds, dealing 0 shadow damage and healing you for 100% damage dealt. If your blood link would overheal you, instead heals a nearby ally. So that seems like kind of like a tanky bonus more than anything. Could be pretty good maybe for a tank, but also could be pretty good for a healer class, for example. A healer class would be able to maybe be a paladin, the Venthyr playstyle, do some damage, get some healing to allies. But also as a DPS, maybe the Blood Link Pulse would be enough damage that for certain DPS classes that could be a pretty good damage bonus with some healing on the side. Then you get a Frost 3 set with Winds of Winter. While inside a Maw or Torghast, each time you deal critical strike, the winds accumulate 6% of that effect up to a cap of 0 per critical strike, so that'll most likely change number-wise. Every 20 seconds, the winds unleash, dealing frost damage equal to the total accumulation and surrounding you in winds for 20 seconds, absorbing 100% of the damage dealt by the winds. Again, some healing components to it, some damage components, some potential tanky components, a little bit of both for everybody. Then Chaos Bane, which is a 3-set unholy set. While inside Maw or Torghast, your spells and abilities have a chance to drain soul fragments from your target, granting you 10 primary stat for 30 seconds. Again, those numbers can change as well. Stack it up to 15 times. When you reach 15 stacks, unleash Chaos Bane, dealing shadow damage split among nearby enemies, and granting you 300 primary stat for 15 seconds. Again, all these numbers are subject to change. So all of them seem to have some sort of a benefit, whether you're a tank, healer, or DPS. We'll find out which ones are going to be best for certain specs, and all these different combos give players more customizability with the new gear from the new raid. Now, important thing to note is these bonuses really read as while inside of the Maw or Torghast, and as of right now, we don't really know when these bonuses come in. Is this going to be the new gear you'll have to farm if you want to PvP and all these shards? Because maybe these shards are not even active outside of the raid, outside of the Maw, outside of Torghast. Maybe this is just Maw and Torghast stuff for all we know. Very little stuff is there for us to really test this gear just yet, this new shard system. They just added it in the game. We have some snippets of data mining, but nothing to confirm exactly what all this is. To me, this looks like a new gearing system, primarily for the raids. Maybe something you can use in the Maw, for dailies and such. Maybe something you'll be able to utilize inside of Torghast because, it's Maw gear. It is themed that way, so you will be able to use it in Torghast for extra bonuses. But it does seem more like raiding gear, and I don't really know if these shards are going to have any effects usable in PvP or usable in Mythic Pluses. In fact, I could totally see it just be a raiding only thing, since it looks like Blizzard is going towards that direction of, okay, we want to have dungeon gear be pretty decent for dungeons, maybe raid gear be best for raids, PvP gear is going to be the best for PvP with the changes they've done in the 9.1 PTR so far. It's going to be coming out in 9.1 patch. So there's a lot of changes they've already done to kind of segment the gear to be best, sort of kind of in their respective areas where you acquire the gear from. And I could totally see this being just a raiding mod Torghast thing only, as it'll be, you know, kind of rolling out in the next few weeks. We'll have to wait and see. That's my hypothesis so far, though. I think this could be just a raid only thing that might be usable in a mod and such, but it'll be kind of weird if this was usable in PvP. But with the way that PvP gear is going, it doesn't look like it has shards themselves on the gear slot, so you won't have to worry about there. In Mythic Pluses, it might mean that Mythic Pluses by themselves for pillars that just want to do keys might not be enough, might have to do a little bit of raiding to get the PvE gear to do well in Mythic Plus. Maybe Blizzard will make a change so that, you know what, if you don't want to step a foot in a raid, this stuff only works inside of raids. So if you want to just go Mythic Plus and get only M Plus gear, you could. People are definitely still want to go get that Sylvanas bow because that's going to be huge. But again, we just don't have enough information on exactly how these new shard systems will work. But we do see them, and they do look kind of cool. They don't really seem too strong to be like a full tier set, and I like how they have different set bonuses. I wonder if those set bonuses, again, will be usable inside of the raid, but I imagine they would be. It's going to be interesting to see how players are going to be able to design their classes and design their builds and kind of which shards people will use in order to get the different bonuses. And I wonder if you can slot these shards in and out freely, so you can like swap out shards for a fight. So a fight is more AoE focused. Let's grab some of this extra damage when you hit an enemy you never hit before. Swap a couple of them out, get the bonus of the Winds of Winter to do AoE damage. Single target fight, let me get some of these red shards out. Maybe a fight with more survivability necessary. Oh, let me just go with a couple of the purple shards or something like that. I think that could be really, really cool though. Definitely an interesting setup for the shard system. This is our first look at it, but so far cannot wait to test it out. Hopefully it will be testable together with some of the new M Plus stuff that's coming out, maybe with some of the new raid stuff that's coming out. But yeah, thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Let me know your thoughts about the new shard system, the bonuses system. Do you think this is going to be something usable only in raids or in other bits of content? Would you rather the system be used only in raids, but not like in Mythic Plus, not in PvP? Or do you think this should be gear and bonuses used everywhere in the game? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As for that, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in another one.